Hi, I'm Justin from CanadaWhips.com. Today, we're going to be covering the back 8 crack, or the back crack, or, as is most commonly known, the second crack in the fast figure 8. The crack on its own looks like this. From the front, and from the back. To start, we're going to lie the whip down on the ground in front of us. We want our arm to be pointing at about 60 degrees towards the ground. Not 45, it's a little bit much. Bring it down just a little, 60. Keep it tight in here. And you want to make sure that the whip isn't all coiled up by your feet. You want it to be pointing out the thong away from you as far as possible. With our arm here, we're going to bring our elbow up towards our shoulder. Notice that my elbow, more or less the same height as my shoulder. That's ideal for right now. So our elbow comes up. And also notice that my forearm, my hand, and the handle all maintain that 60-degree angle while they're raised. They follow the angle up to my shoulder. Once we're here and we're comfortable, we're going to bring our elbow down in sort of a chicken wing motion. We're snapping it towards our body. As this is happening, our wrist and our forearm are going to want to turn over to the back, behind us. Bang, bang. You can see this is starting to form a loop as the whip travels. That loop is what's going to cause the crack. It can help to think of the whip handle as the diameter of a circle, with the butt and the transition being points on that circle's circumference. When you're bringing your elbow down and twisting your wrist over, the whip handle is traveling more or less around the center of the handle, rotating. So that circle that we draw more or less creates the loop as well. It's drawing it to get the crack. The third step, once we've brought elbow down and wrist over, is to follow through by pointing the handle towards the ground and sweeping it up. Very similar to how we follow through after a reverse cattleman's crack. The reason this is so similar is because the reverse cattleman's crack and the back 8 crack are more or less the same crack, except the reverse cattleman's crack has a swing up, and the back 8 crack doesn't have a swing up. It's just this same snapping motion that we see when we do the reverse cattleman's crack. So, whip is in front of us, our arm is at 60 degrees, we go up, elbow down, wrist over, sweep through, and that creates the back 8 crack. Common problems that people have with this crack are, once they've brought their elbow up, they tend to just twist the wrist over without chicken winging back down, as we'll call it. This doesn't give you a lot of force, and as you can see, it also doesn't make a very tight loop for the whip to crack. So if we chicken wing, which means bring our elbow down like that, I'll do it from the front too, just so you can see. It's going to get a much more forceful and much tighter loop and just a better crack in general. Another problem that people have is when they bring their arm up and then start to bring it down, they end up pushing their wrist out and the handle away from their body, and that's going to cause the whip to hit itself, to get tangled, or it might cause the loop that you're drawing to go from really nice and close to itself to far away, which ruins the conservation of energy and also removes the crack. So by keeping it close together, like this, you're going to actually get the crack, which is going to allow you to do fast figure 8 eventually. Finally, something people will do is instead of bringing their arm up along the 60-degree angle that we talked about, they'll have everything in the right position, and then they'll just bring their arm up this way and then try and get the crack. And again, the whip isn't really traveling the way it needs to. You really need to make sure instead of coming up and across, you're going on an angle this way and then coming back down for the crack. To add this crack into the fast figure eight, we're going to go back to our description of the reverse cattleman's crack. As I said, notice that this crack and this crack are more or less the same, except this crack has a sweep up and this crack doesn't. Whoops. The reason this crack doesn't have a sweep up is because it happens right after the cattleman's crack. So if you'll see, I'll do my cattleman's crack, and I'll look at the position that my arm is in. I'm at about 60 degrees, arm, forearm, handle are all pointing down towards the ground, the whip is in front of me, so now I can do my back eight crack. Cattleman, back eight crack. Cattleman, back eight crack. Cattleman. That's your fast figure eight. Now, and your volley, I should say. Now, when you're doing this, you might have a tendency to have the thong hit the handle. You might have a tendency to have the thong hit yourself. You might have a tendency to just not really get the crack. It's going to sputter out. That's going to take a lot of time and practice and wrist control. Make sure that your elbow is moving out, coming back in. And that chicken wing that we talked about. Chicken wing. Your wrist is tilting over. And you're following through after your crack. That's going to really help you get the fast figure eight. Now, some variations that you can do on the back eight crack and the fast figure eight include A, spinning around. So with the fast figure eight, you can see I'm adding in a reverse cattleman's crack to help with the spin. With the back eight crack, you can do this. Now, another trick is to catch the whip and immediately do your back eight crack. Sometimes you'll throw the whip in the air and the handle is going to end pointing up when you catch it, and that's the ideal time to do the cattleman's crack. However, sometimes the whip might over-rotate or not rotate enough, and you'll catch it with the handle pointing forward and down. This is the exact same position as if we were going to do our back eight crack. So, if you catch the whip that way, you can immediately do a back eight crack, which looks pretty cool. Another trick that you can do with the fast figure eight is to put more space in between the first crack and the second crack to provide the dramatic emphasis. So, for example, regular and dramatic. To do this, we do our cattleman, pause, lift, and then sweep through into another cattleman. So, thanks for watching this tutorial on the back eight crack and the fast figure eight. I hope to see you in the next video, and please check out CanadaWhips.com for all other whip cracking information.